Welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am Sean Redfern. It is Monday, and I am back from a short hiatus. Went back home, see my pops. Spent a couple days back in the Northeast Texas Hill Country. Not the Hill Country, the Piney Woods. I used to live down around Austin, so I got Hill Country on the mind too. But spent a couple days in those Piney Woods in Northeast Texas. Got myself a cold. Y'all bear with me. Man, when the cold happens, I stay junked up. Y'all know that if y'all been watching the show for a year at least. So I'm gonna try to get through it. Bear with me. I might sneeze. I might cough. I certainly will clear my throat. I'll probably choke to death a couple times. I apologize. We're gonna do Trace Otra games, college football playoff round 2 edition, and then we'll do the 4 keys and a prediction for Arizona State. Should be a pretty quick show. I hope so. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, you can do that at Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, iHeart Podcast, all the podcasts. You can go to horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com and get the audio as well. You can subscribe there. I recommend the YouTube channel. Please head over to the YouTube channel, subscribe. We do all kinds of video analysis. We do a lot of different stuff there now. So check it out. Trace Otra games, round 2 of the college football playoff. We'll start with number 6, Penn State, number 3, Boise State. By the way, we were 2-1 last weekend in the Trace Otra games. So we'll be trying to match that or do better. Penn State at Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. It's a 6:30 p.m. kick on ESPN tomorrow night. First game of the playoffs on Tuesday night. Penn State, massive favorite in this game, 11.5 points. It's a very evenly matched game offensively. You look at Penn State, they're a little more pass heavy than they are run heavy. You look at Boise State, they're a little more run heavy than pass heavy. Both pretty balanced, but that's kind of how they fall. Offensively, tightly matched teams. Penn State has a clear edge defensively. Boise State, pretty good against the run, not very good against the pass. Another opportunity for those Boise State, what the hell are they, Broncos, to step up in the big boy games. They've done it before. Played a real tough game against Oregon earlier this year. They're a good team, for sure. Thing I just keep going back to is, can James Franklin, can he win a big game? We asked that ahead of the Big Ten title game. He was 1-13 against top 5 teams going into that one. Now he's 1-14 against top 5 teams. Can Penn State slow down Austin Jeanty? I don't know. We'll find out in a little over 24 hours. I think Boise State's had an incredible year. But, man, I feel like Penn State's roster's just better. It's just probably better in the trenches. I think Penn State's going to get it done. I think Boise State covers, though. I think it's a close game. I got Penn State 27-24 over Boise State. I really like Boise State. But, man, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if when they played up with Oregon, if that was them truly playing up or if that's just how good they are. And then again, James Franklin, can he win a big game? So far, he's not been able to do that very well. Number 8, Ohio State at number 1, Oregon, Rose Bowl in Pasadena. That's kind of cool. This would have been a traditional Rose Bowl game back in the day. 4 p.m. kick on ESPN. That's on Wednesday the 1st. Ohio State, a 2.5-point favorite coming off that big win against Tennessee in round 1. This is a rematch of an earlier game up in Eugene that Oregon won 32-31. Kind of a crazy play at the end where Will Howard slides down too late, or I don't know exactly what the deal was. I wasn't watching the game. I forgot what game we had that week, but we were en route somewhere. Oregon, the only undefeated team left. Power Five. I mean, I think Power Four, whatever. I mean, I think they are the only undefeated team left. A lot of people talking about after that win against Tennessee how Ohio State's playing the best ball in the country right now. Man, people are so just fickle. This is the same Ohio State team that just a week before that, a couple weeks before that, got embarrassed at home by Michigan. I mean, I don't think this team just all of a sudden flipped a switch and became awesome. And I don't think that Michigan win or Michigan loss rather was as bad as it looked. I mean, it's a rivalry game. Shit happens. But now all of a sudden, I mean, someone's going to win this week in a blowout, and that's going to be the team that everybody thinks is going to win the national champion. It's so fickle. It changes every week. Pick somebody and stick to your guns. And don't give me this, the information. We have seen 12, 13 games from these teams. You have all the information you're ever going to get about these teams. Oregon, a little bit better offensively. Ohio State, better defensively by a little bit more than Oregon is better than Ohio State offensively. To me, this one comes down to the QBs. We thought first go around we picked this game, and we thought Dylan Gabriel would make some plays with his legs, which he did. And I kind of feel like he'll do that again. I mean, that's what he does. On the flip side, Will Howard had an outstanding game against Tennessee. Can he do that again against Oregon? Tennessee's not a slouch of a defense. I think if I'm looking at these two quarterbacks, I like Dylan Gabriel, and I just am going to like Dylan Gabriel, and nothing else is going to change that. Now, that doesn't mean, the supporting cast for Ohio State doesn't step up, and I mean, anything can happen there. But if we're just looking apples to apples, Dylan Gabriel, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel's my guy. If I got to pick one to go win a game, picking Dylan Gabriel because he's done it. Will Howard, I don't think, has ever done it. I think Oregon's going to win it, man. I think they're going to win another close one. I think it's going to be lower scoring this time. Both these defenses is pretty good. Ohio State's is really good. I got Oregon 27-24 over Ohio State. And the same kind of scenario, man. I just think Dylan Gabriel is going to do something with his feet that's going to be the difference in the game. Number 7, Notre Dame. At number 2, Georgia. Sugar Bowl. 7:45 p.m. on ESPN Wednesday night. It's the late game. Georgia 1.5-point favorite, despite not having QB1. We know Notre Dame wants to run the ball. I think Georgia's going to have to. I mean, I don't. Stockton he's a talented kid. He wouldn't be at Georgia if he wasn't talented. But we saw him make some really good plays in that SEC championship game with his arm, and then we also saw him do some really dumb stuff with his arm. We saw him not have the pocket. I mean, just the speed of the game is just a lot different. Even from practice at the D1 level to an actual game, it's just different. And I don't know if just these few weeks he's had to get comfortable is enough to actually get comfortable. I mean, we'll find. I definitely think Georgia's going to do their best to pass the ball, but keep him protected. They're certainly not going to put it all on Stockton. If they have to do that, I think they're in trouble. And again, it's nothing against him. If he gets hurt halfway through, if Carson Beck gets hurt halfway through the season and Stockton's got all these games under his belt, probably a different story. So I think Georgia's going to have to try to lean on the run some in this game, and they just really haven't been that good at doing it. However, I would say they've been pretty good in two really big games this year doing it. So I think the questions for me are, can the players around Stockton, can they lift him up? We've seen that in the past with Georgia. I think another kind of interesting question storyline about this game, which coach loses patience first? Because I think Notre Dame is just going to come in and they think they can run the ball, and I think that's what they're going to try to do. So how long does Notre Dame just go headfirst into that wall of Georgia's defense before they lose patience? And then same thing for Georgia. If Georgia can't have success early offensively, does Kirby Smart ever lose patience? That's something I feel like he's really good. He is the whiniest. Me and my dad were talking about this weekend. That dude is the whiniest coach I have ever seen on the sideline. So you got to hate him for that. He is punchable. But you got to love that he sticks to his guns and he is patient and he'll just keep going with the game plan, trusting that somebody on that talented roster is going to make a play, and it normally happens. It's really, 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 really hard for me to doubt Georgia. We've talked multiple times this year about how they're the standard. They're the gold standard of college football, and they have been. I mean, despite the success that Alabama's had, even recently, they've been the gold standard for a while now, few years. They absolutely have a loaded roster, as loaded as anybody else in the country. So it's tough to just go, man, Georgia doesn't have their starter. I can't I can't go with them. I think if ND can run the ball, I think they win this one because I that's what they want to do, and they do it pretty well. And that's the the teams that haven't been able to beat Georgia. And I'm looking at you, Texas. They couldn't run the ball. I like this Notre Dame team, man. I think they're tough defensively. I think they're good running the football. I just think Georgia's just too tough in the trenches, though. Just consistently too tough. And I think this is the kind of game where Kirby Smart, for whatever reason, he's just comfortable watching stuff not go well for a long time because he knows eventually something's good's going to happen if they just keep going. I mean, it's what they did in the SEC championship game. It's what they would have done in the first game against Texas if Texas didn't give them the ball 30 times inside their 40-yard line. Just hand them 23 points. I got Georgia 23-16 over Notre Dame. So there's the Trace Otra Games picks, 4 keys and a prediction for the Arizona State game, the Peach Bowl. Texas has an opportunity to be the first program to win all 6 of the New Year's 6 bowls. Nobody's done that. Texas wins the Peach Bowl on Wednesday, they will have done that. 4 keys. Number 1, stop the run. This one's obvious, and a lot of these are going to be really obvious. It's what Arizona State wants to do. It's what they're good at. I think Cam Scatterboo is the heart and soul of this Arizona State team. It's like it's like one of those war movies where the just unstoppable warrior guy gets beat. Like when Hector got beat by Achilles in Troy. They were like, "Oh shit! If Texas can stop Cam Scatterboo, not only is that hugely detrimental to like what they're actually trying to do on the field physically and game plan wise, but it is like that is going to be or would be, could be just an absolutely brutal emotional blow to this team. You take him out of the game, you've just demoralized Arizona State. We've seen the Texas run D be leaky almost all season. We've seen it almost every game. So I certainly think this Arizona State offensive line can make some holes. It's okay for him to get some yardage. I mean, I think he will. But what they've got to avoid is him consistently getting to the edge and consistently getting in these one-on-one matchups with secondary guys. If they can limit those opportunities and keep Scatterboo just kind of bottled up, I think they'll be in good shape. I think a fast start offensively could go a really long way for Texas and making Arizona State kind of adjust away from that running game as well. I know they like Scatterboo, and I don't think they'll give up on him. You know, if Texas were to go out and jump up 21-0 in the first quarter, I don't think they give up on the run. That's still a lot of time. But if Texas carried that through into the second half, at some point you just start to run out of time. Key number 2, they got to take the ball away, which is something they do really well. They're the best team in the country taking the ball away. Arizona State, one of the best teams in the country protecting the ball. I think they're ranked 9th in the country in turnovers lost. I say we got to take the ball away because I think Texas is going to turn the ball over. It's just what they do. It's like, at this point, it's like part of the offense. They've done it almost every single game this season. I think Texas will have opportunities to take the ball away. Every game, there's been balls on the ground. There's been defenders in position to make interceptions. Every single game. Texas got to take advantage. They got to continue to execute that because it's a strength. They got to make sure that that strength remains a strength. Key number 3, don't forget the run game, which sounds a lot different than you've got to run the ball. I think they do have to run the ball. But if they do, they got to not forget about it. The only 2 games that Texas has lost, and most of the games where they've struggled to score, it's games where they struggled to run or they just abandon it at times. We saw it at Clemson in the second half, early in the second half. Let Clemson get back in the game. We turned into a passing team all day. We ran the ball down Clemson's throat in the first half, and all of a sudden we came out and we just didn't want to do it. Just would not do it. That can't happen. If it's working well, man, you got to do it. I don't care if you put a goose egg up passing the ball. If you can run the ball for 300 or 400 yards, run the ball for 300 or 400 yards. Win the game. Bury the other team. Arizona State pretty decent against the run. They're pretty poor against the pass. They're really poor against the pass. And I think Sark's going to want to try to take advantage of that. And that's okay. I mean, it's a weakness. Bond's back for this game. And passing the ball is just what Sark wants to do. We all know that. They need to attempt to run the ball early. They need to do it often, regardless of whether it's working or not. It's just something you have to do. If you don't do it, you put too much pressure on the quarterback, too much pressure on your offensive line to hold up and pass pro. It's just not very conducive for success. And if it is working like it works, like it's worked the last, more often than not, the last few games, you got to just pound it, man. Talk a little later about what we think Texas is going to do offensively to start the game. But even if that works, even if they get the ball through the air a lot and they're making some hay, they gotta mix the run in there. Key number 4, leave no doubt. We've talked about it so many times this year. This Texas team, they've just failed to play a complete game for 60 minutes ever. I don't think they've done it. I don't think this team has played its best football. It's played its best football at times in really quick spurts. I mean, we've seen this team go on these runs. Well, they'll rack up like 3 touchdowns, like nothing. And then it'll be a quarter and they do nothing. I think this Texas roster is better. Coaching staff is better. Arizona State, though, has a very large, very prominent chip on their shoulder right now. They're really comfortable and really happy playing the us against the world card. We've seen it in the pressers. Everybody's seen the clips of the quarterback. Everybody's seen Scattaboo talking about how people doubt him, and they're one of those teams with a massive chip, and they're just talented enough that if you let them hang around and have any kind of life, they can beat you. I think Texas needs to start fast, and they need to finish for 60 minutes after that. No more dicking around, man. It's freaking playoffs. Texas had a chance to absolutely crush Clemson in the first half of that game, and they didn't do it. They failed to score on a drive where they just picked off the ball inside Clemson territory, and they got nothing. And they should have got another touchdown. That's one area where I think this Texas team still hasn't figured out how to execute consistently is like in the let's just let's just choke them out. Let's end this. So for Texas, you just got to go be better because you are better. And I don't mean that to take anything away from Arizona State. I think they're a good football team. We've said it on this show before. 11 wins is not easy. I don't care what league you're in. But Texas, if they're playing their best, is light years better than this Arizona State team. You got to go out there and do it. A prediction on this Peach Bowl matchup. Listen, Texas 1-0 over Arizona State. Lone win coming in the 2007 Holiday Bowl. This game kicks at noon on ESPN on December 30. Oh, no, excuse me, January 1st. Texas a big favorite, 12.5 points, the biggest favorite of all the teams. I think I think Sark is going to be ultra aggressive early in this game. It would not surprise me if Texas won the coin toss if they took the ball. It would not surprise me to see them come out and just try to really throw the ball around early on in this game. Arizona State, not a great pass defense. You got Bond back. The pass rush for Arizona State, not that active. I think Sark knows if he can get a big lead in this game, that you take away their biggest player, you take away what they want to do. And honestly, that's Arizona's shot. I mean, the most likely shot for Arizona State is for them to keep the score close as long as they can so they can keep running the ball. So, personally, I just think you got to be you, which to me, I think this team is a lot more of a running team than Steve Sarkisian wants it to be. And I would be pleasantly surprised if that's what we saw. I'll also be pleasantly surprised if we take the ball after we win the coin toss, and we go right down the field and score. And it's passes all the way. I'll be happy. I know that might sound hypocritical to you, but because y'all know I like to run the ball. I don't have a problem doing anything over and over again that works. Let's put it that way. I have a problem when you stop doing the thing that works to do the thing that isn't working. So as long as this game's close, Scatterboo is going to keep them alive. He's an outstanding weapon running the ball, but he's a really good weapon out of the backfield as well. I expect Arizona State to just throw absolutely everything they have at Texas. Trick plays, deep shots. It wouldn't surprise me if they use Scatterboo as a decoy early on in this game. Maybe some play action, deep shots, like maybe the first play of the game, they play action, go deep. Would not surprise me a single bit. They don't got anything to lose. I think it's going to take them being successful in some things like that to win this game. Crazier things have happened, but I'd be really surprised if Arizona State was just able to line up and play with Texas on both sides of the ball. I think Texas is just better in the trenches. We talk about it all the time. That's where you win football games. Skill guys don't win football games. Big humans win football games. I think Texas wins this game big, folks. I think they get a big lead early. And I think they just choke them out late with the running game. I got Texas 38-17. I got Texas advancing to their second college football playoff semi in as many years. I think it's a big one for Texas. I think they finally start to put it all together, play a complete game. We will be back Thursday with Drunk Sean Thoughts. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. Won't cost you guys a thing, but we sure do appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. You guys get hooked. You guys have an outstanding New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. Be careful out there. There's a lot of knuckleheads out there. Again, enjoy time with your friends and family. Let's get ready to usher in the new year. Let's get ready to beat these Arizona State Wildcats, as they say. They're all mad because people call them the Arizona State Wildcats. We're going to beat the Arizona State Sun Devils. We'll see y'all on Thursday. Get hooked.